Welcome to Transit Talk, Human Design Transits, real talk in real time. I'm Kathy. Gordos.
And we meet up every 6 days to explore the current human design transits and how they're actually showing up in our lives. And we'd love for you to join us.
We're talking energy in the moment, what we're feeling, which is not energy for me, honestly, what we're noticing, and what the transits are stirring up inside us and all around us.
So, whether you're joining us live or listening later, we're glad you're here.
Let's get into it. Okay, guys, we're going to be a good one because I'm fighting a sinus infection. It started to begin at the last transit. So I'm a little bit brain dead, as you can tell. And we're both out of our normal elements. I'm in Florida, which is where Jess usually is.
Mhm.
And I'm usually the one in the woods.
Yeah. And today I'm in the woods. Now I'm sneezing.
Right?
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about the Gate 14 or Gate 8, Gate 14 transit. And hopefully my Wi-Fi is not going to glitch. And
The biggest spider.
you got what?
There is the biggest
That's
spider
not
crawling,
you're
crawling on my computer.
you're doing your little Miss Muffet impersonation.
Oh my God. Okay. Yep. There. Oh, hold on.
On camera spider and sat down the spider. And sat
right just away. Can you see it?
No, maybe somebody else can. Okay, so we're going to talk about the sun in Gate 8, which is you, Jess. So I'm going to let you go first while I see if we are live in the group as we should be.
There, you've got to see it now. There's this spider.
It's a daddy long legs.
Okay.
Guys.
Okay. Hold on. Let me move.
They're live. I see us.
Okay, perfect. We're live. So let's take a look here. So my Wi-Fi is not working here, so we're working with.
Talk about what you're representing first.
Oh, this isn't even the right one.
You're so sweet.
So I'm Gate 8 today. I am contribution. And so I am representing so with the energy of this gate, there's this energy of like, this is the unique thing. This is the way, I dress, this identity that I have, this style. But when you really deeply like step into the energy of this, of identity, it's very mutative. It's very connected with like how you're feeling and what's going to be expressed in that moment. So having that uniqueness and that style is really about like going into what feels right, not being defined by being anything specific. So I've got a little bit of everything here. I've got a little bit of like the Aztec-y like blanket, a little bit of like the bow, a little bit of like the chic shirt. So doing all of it. So it's really not about having one set way to have that contribution, like, how that creative energy flows through you.
Yes. And I know that energy well because that is my conscious earth is Gate 8. But today I am here representing Gate 14, which is my conscious sun. So, and it is, today I'm feeling almost competent, which is the gift to it. But this is my bounty outfit of colors because I love color. I don't know. I just feel like I'm dressed like the Florida tourist, which is a sign of some sort of abundance, right? Which is what I am right now. I just need a camera. But I love this energy. It is, like I said, my conscious sun is 14/6. And so the way that I feel right now, I was just like, I'm just showing up as me because I am Gate 14, right? And so these gates are ones that I've studied immensely, that I know well, I've lived. And there's a lot of, honestly, the Gate 14 energy was probably one of the hardest things for me to really own because I was like, what does that mean to prosperity and bounteousness as far as that's what I'm here to radiate? Like, that felt like a lot of pressure, honestly, like a high expectation. And then there was a certain amount of judgment of like, well, then why aren't I more? Right? Why aren't I more? So, but it's gate 14 is my conscious sun, but we're talking about it as the earth. So it's always interesting when we're talking about energies in the, like, with the programming partner showing up as the opposite is how we experience them in our chart, right? So like for me to now feel this grounding energy in gate 14, and yet that's my sun. So that's almost like, wait, so now I'm feeling this being grounded in who I am. That like you can start to think about it. But what I learned last week was it's important to not try to think too much about it. There's a difference between thinking about something and contemplating it. And I feel like last year, yeah, it's felt like this week has felt like a year for me. Got really caught up in the trying to think about the insights that were coming through to the point where it didn't allow them to really just come through. And I think that as much as we want to be aware of the transits so that we can not let them steer us in the wrong direction, it's important that we don't try to steer it so much, because then it's all just another mental game, right? And I think that happened a lot for me last week with the stuff that I was starting to have come through at the beginning of the week. And then I just kept trying to figure it all out. And especially because I was trying to get that blog written. But then I just quickly, after the transit talk, started to feel so lousy. And then there was all this pressure on me internally from myself to write this blog, to not let it, especially because I had all these good insights I needed to share. And as I started to write about them, I kept realizing it's a lot like verbally processing. We start to write them and you go, wait, no, that's not right. No, that doesn't, and then I just realized the next day that all my body wanted me to do was just, I literally on Saturday just laid in bed and did nothing all day. And then I left on Monday to come down here with my daughter, drive to Florida. So Sunday became a day of doing all the things I needed to do that I should have done on Saturday and trying to get ready. And then it was so funny packing. This is where my abundance and prosperity is my bounteousness is in the amount of clothes I brought with in my closet in my Airbnb here, because on Sunday I had no capability of making a decision. And my daughter's answer was, we're driving, just bring it. We're driving.
I love that.
Never big suitcase, just bring it. Because I would be like, should I bring this? I'd show her an outfit, just bring it. So pretty soon the big suitcase was full and the little suitcase was full. And then it was like just a couple random things thrown in the car too, because I couldn't make a decision. But I was still trying to figure out, even yesterday sitting at the beach, I was like, well, maybe I'll write that transit blog in this 6-line energy of the transit and really reflect on the things. And I started sitting at the beach trying to do it, and my internet kept like glitching and stuff. And then I was like, okay, universe, I hear you. I'm letting this transit post go. So that one did not happen. And that's okay. But
it's always perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, this gate 8 energy, let's start there since that's the sun. If there's anybody here who wants to join us, the link is in the group for you to hop on if you would like.
Let me share. So what we're looking at, can you see the computer kind of? So the sun in gate 8. So the gate 8 is right here. Oh,
yes.
Touching the screen.
Right.
So gate 8, that's the throat. And this is I can contribute or not, right? And that's part of the channel with the 1-8, the channel of inspiration, which we both have. And so interesting enough, 8 is actually in my Jupiter. And then we've got 14 over here is our Earth, and 14 is on. And so, like you were speaking to before, which is also very interesting because you have your 14 on the undefined sacral, which we've spoken to before, which is also an interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
Flip it,
very much.
flip it around, down. Oh, I need to sneeze. I don't know if you saw before, there's a bumblebee floating around too. Like, I love nature, but, like, I think I like nature when it doesn't necessarily, like, crawl on me, like the the spiders and the bees, but somehow they're always, like, attracted to me, and I think it's interesting. Yeah, there's one, like, floating around my foot right now, so enjoying nature. Um, and so, yeah, really looking at, so gate 8, holding together, and I love the way in the Gene Keys how he talks about this, I don't remember what the keynotes were there. I think it was
Shadow
mediocrity,
mediocrity, which can
and
be
then
wooden or
mhm,
artificial, and the gift
mhm.
of style and the city of exquisiteness.
Yeah, and that's, speaking to that mediocrity of living a life where we're living it not in our own unique style, our own unique creative way, our own unique expression of it, where we're just kind of doing things the way we feel like they have to be done or the way that they have been done. And then starting to
Following
move away
someone
from that
else's
mediocrity
example.
where Hmm?
Following
The what?
someone else's example.
Yes, following somebody else's example, right? And so it might look like on the outside, like, oh, yeah, that's a great, you have like all the boxes checked, whatever that looks like for you. Like, okay, you have that white picket fence, you have the family, the dogs, the whatever. But like inside, you're feeling like it's not your unique expression. You're not feeling that fulfillment. You're not feeling that just like liveliness coming through you, even though it would look like on the outside that you have all these things. So living in this like level of like mediocrity, and then it's moving into style. But finding your own unique style, like what does that look like? But also not coming to the style and from a place of what should that look like, but letting it be expressed through you, letting that come through. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I have I don't know if there's like a set style for me. So, I go to a lot of different events, like charity events and different events at the kids' school and stuff. And it's very like a little bit more on the chic side, a little bit more like long silky dresses, like very like dolled up. And then on the next weekend, it's like, oh, we're out at a color festival, like covered in like color and covered in like, and so both of those are like my styles. And then like some days I'm gardening and I'm like filthy and I'm full of, so it's like all of those different parts of you. Like you don't have to find like a style. It's again, this is not an energy to box yourself into and be like, okay, this is the person. And it gets to mutate and it gets to change. And so this is like life living through you and expressing through you and letting it, right? Because there's like this rebellious energy to the gate 8 where it's like, excuse me, I'm doing this thing to get away from mediocrity. But that's still then in the shadow. It's like I'm going to rebel against whatever this thing is to go to the opposite end just so that I'm not being mediocre. But that's not honoring your own unique style that wants to come through. And then on the city side of that, that is the exquisiteness, where it's like you really get to be in this place that's so connected that it just gets to flow through you. This unique creation, this unique like style that is authentic to you and moving with what's there and the like energy of life.
You did that on purpose. You paused right while I still had it muted because I had coughed, and I was pouring tea when you paused. And I didn't cough. And I'm like, oh crap. Um, yeah. So I was drinking
It
hot
was a
tea in Florida.
beautiful, dramatic pause.
There
I
we
love
go.
it.
So what line is your gate 8 in?
So my gate 8 is that's a great question. Let me look real quick. Um
You remember, because mine's my sun, so or my earth, so it's
Mine's 2.
okay. Okay.
I hate that I'm sniffling here. Sorry.
Well, that's so interesting because I've got Chaitan's book open, and so line 2 is being the friend. Friendliness is an expression of the highest human ideal. You naturally empower others through your presence, encouragement, and contributions. That's lovely. And what's
Mm,
defined by?
love it. So real quick, just to go on the book real quick, that is service. So in the human design book,
Oh,
line
and
2 is
you can't
called,
just
sorry,
call it the human design book because they're all human design books.
it's the human design book.
The human design book
The
is
human, it's
is
the
the
human design book. Yeah.
science of the science of differentiation is what
Differentiation.
is what I
So
call
you
the
said
the raven, the
what
raven
is
chick.
what is
Is
my yeah.
the one, what line?
So my one is so my one is my Pluto and my moon, and that's 2 and 3.
Okay. All right. So that doesn't put you in any of the other ones. I just didn't know if it might throw you into detriment or all that stuff. You know how, because when you have a full channel, if the channel, there are ways that the other side of the channel can impact how that one is playing out for you. And
Mhm.
I had the brain cells to explain that better, but I don't.
Yeah.
So
I just want to
obviously
add real
some
quick because I love it. So the line 1, I know we're not doing line 1, but again, the line 1 with the 8 makes that channel of inspiration. So gate, not line 1. Oh my goodness. Gate 1 and gate 8 make the channel of contribution. But line 2 in gate 1 is love is light, which I love. Which
right.
I love. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, we can go through the lines, or if you want to go into 14 a little bit more.
Let's go ahead and go through the lines now since we started. It just makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So for gate 8, we've got line 1 is honesty.
Okay. And then let's do it this way. Like you read the one and then I'll read the other one. So Chaitan's
Perfect.
being authentic, being candid will attract all those who wish to contribute. Your forthrightness attracts everyone who wishes to engage and co-create with their gifts. And we already did line 2. So we'll
Service. Yep.
go to
And then line 3 is the phony.
the phony.
The phony.
Oh,
It's like experimentation.
Chaitan called it indulging, contributing with a passionate indifference. That's a passionate indifference. Okay.
What does it mean?
You need to constantly check the basis of your commitments and the company you attract. It's interesting. What does that mean to you?
I think that comes down to like we're influenced by the energy of the people around us, right? And the way that they show up, whether we're, cognitively aware of it or not. And so seeing like, am I around people that are expressing their true selves? Are they, someone who's like, no, this is the way that it's done and this is the way it needs to look? And so being mindful of those people around you, which could lead to, which this says the phony, where you think attribution, but it's not authentic to you.
Yeah. This gate 8 energy has something that's been really, really played out in my life where I can notice so many times because, it's my evolution in Gene Keys, right? Our conscious earth is how we evolve. And I've realized so many times when I'm doing something and I realize I'm doing it because I should, right? Which should is almost like a dirty word to me now. I can catch myself saying it. I'm like, no. Okay, so if I doing something because I think I should, or doing it for some kind of recognition or any kind of imitation, and sometimes it's so easy to not even realize it, right? That you're doing it until you realize, oh, I'm doing this because so and so, insert person with a defined ajna for me, right? Because I just get led into their thoughts. I'm doing it because that's what they do or how they think. And then I'm like, but that's not me. And that's when I get into mediocrity, right? So, and that's when I lose that exquisite style. Like it was really easy for me to understand this style component from a outward expression of how I show up. Like if I start following the trends to the say, because I love to watch fashion trends. But if I start thinking, oh, neutrals are in, like, okay, imagine me saying, well, everything is all tan and black and gray and white this year. So that's what I'm going to wear. Like,
No.
that's not cheap, right? Now, that doesn't mean that I won't now all of a sudden incorporate some tans in with my bright colors or something like that, you know? But
Mhm.
to not do it in my own unique way is me just compromising. Well, it's easy for me to see it in that outward expression. But when you start to think of it more as the inward expression of who you are, it's 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 a little trickier sometimes to catch it. And so there would be times where all of a sudden I'd catch myself in something and going, well, of course it's not working for me. I'm doing it because I thought it was going to work for me because it worked for someone else. So for me, it's always got to be something, and it can be inspired by something that's working for someone else,
Mhm.
like a business strategy or how I'm going to approach a problem, whatever, but it still needs to be very much me. So, okay, I got off on a little tangent there, but let's go to
No, that's perfect. I mean, that's the perfect example of it, right? And coming back to it is this has like a rebellious energy to it. It's they say with fashion, if you're following fashion, you're behind fashion, right?
right.
Because it's already the next thing. But like by the time it's hit that mainstream, that it's already behind. And so it's like finding that unique fashion within you that you get to just fully express. And also remembering, the energy of this channel is projected. And so, honoring that, sharing that creativity, if it's going to be, recognized and how it's going to be received sometimes if it's not invited, and that's okay. Sometimes you just get to lead with this energy and that gets to inspire other people.
Yeah, perfect. Did you want to go to line 4?
Yes, line 4 is respect.
Interesting. So Shaitan's book calls it, and this is Shaitan, the Book of Lions by Shaitan Parkin is what I'm talking about for anyone listening, is being statesmanlike, empowering cooperation by welcoming all contributions.
Mhm.
You give heartfelt encouragement to each individual to contribute in their own unique way.
Mhm.
So that's, not just you being unique, but really encouraging uniqueness in those around you. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that plays into that respect piece where it's like, look at that person. Like, I really respect them. They're being like authentically themselves. And that almost in a way gives you that permission to go, I get to do it my way too. Even if it's different, it doesn't have to be their way, but I get to show up in my unique way.
Yes.
And then we've got line 5 is Dharma.
It's always a word that
Dharma.
I think do you want to explain what Dharma means to people a little bit? No?
Do you want to explain what?
The one that's going bed right now. So that's why I was like, I mean, Dharma is like kind of just your way, right? It's your way,
Yeah.
like just kind of your way of being. And I know that's an understatement, but I don't know that I have the brain cells to say more. Um, John describes it as benevolence. Have any of you ever had a um, sinus infection? You'll know what I mean. Not about this, but about not having brain cells,
Dharma and a sinus infection.
right? Benevolent to me because I have sinus infection. I'm so benevolence, attuning to how, when, and what to co-create. Your timing and attitude assures how well any contribution is received. So, and this one does have a special expression in the sun. So when we get to the 5th line day, it is your persistent contributing is ultimately appreciated, whether you know this or not. So that's the energy that we'll have on this transit when it hits line 5. So want to do line 6?
Mhm. And then line 6 is communion.
Okay. So reevaluating, constantly encouraging harmonious environments. You participate best when you appreciate the vital nature of all empowering contributions. So
Mhm. The way this line 6 speaks to me is, more communion as in, like, coming back to that essence of yourself, that energy of life, communing with what that is for it to be expressed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, line 6 is where I'm at with it. That's my gate 8 because I'm a 6th line.
Mhm.
So, I've always, hmm, I don't know. I don't have anything to say on that, even though I've always been open to it. Um, so you guys, I don't even know how long we're going to be able to talk today because my brain's just like,
Done, yeah. Do you wanna do gate 14's
yeah,
lines?
you're great 14.
Okay.
And before we get into the lines, though, I do just want to speak a little bit about this in general. Chaitan calls this the clarity or prosperity. So it says harvesting. There's a knack to learning to embody a genuine ease in situations involving resources of property, wealth, and affluence. The clarity of personal commitment, inner strength, detachment, and perseverance ensures great transformation and empowerment. And this is the shadow of compromise that can take you from impotent to enslaved. And it has the gift of competence and the city of bounteousness. And this has been an interesting thing to sit with, having 14 line 6 is known to be like the most powerful gate and line in the chart in a lot of ways. The gate of power is its own thing. There's, different aspects of everything, but this is, the strongest like business channel. There's so much here, but it's on my undefined sacral. So I
Mhm.
have this energy, but it's not consistently accessible for me, which has been something that has really taken a lot of time for me to understand. And I think also when you think about the whole way a 6 line works, and there's these phases of it, right? Of
Mhm.
trying to be this go-getter, this prosperous, you know, trying to use my energy in that way, but not knowing how to do that, not knowing how to self-regulate that, not knowing when enough is enough. And then having that time on the roof where there was still a certain amount of, just trying to figure it all out because what if this is me and what isn't? Because I don't consistently feel this way. But yet when I feel this way, it's so strong and familiar and it's so much me. So 70% of who I am is inconsistent. I mean, that's been a lot for me to, really sit with. And my other sun gate, my design sun gate is gate 59 on my undefined sacral. So yeah, there's a lot of this, and he talks about when we get to it, we'll talk about actually I'm just going to start with this because he talks about 14:6 as being worthy. Existence gives resources and blessing to whomever it chooses. A spiritual and or material approach to the responsibilities associated with wealth. And in the sun, its expression is your easy attunement to wealth gives you the humility to be generous and grateful.
Mhm.
And in the earth, which it's in right now, says a practical approach allows you to find balance between material and spiritual realms. So, you know, right now it's this grounding energy to help kind of balance things. But in my life, one of the things that I have done is I think this is true for everyone, but for me, it's really shown when I'm in a place of gratitude,
Mhm.
things really happen. When I'm in a place of, um, you know, questioning why it's so inconsistent, beating myself up about what I'm not doing or what's not coming easily, it just gets harder and harder, right? And so right now, I'm sitting with this energy of abundance, of prosperity, of, yay, I was able to come back. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love Florida. And I used to come down here pretty regularly when my daughter was living down here. And unfortunately, she had to move back home. Things were getting tough for her. She came back to Georgia to regroup. And this is the first time she's been able to come down. So I have not come down here because I had various reasons why it just didn't make sense for me to come without her. And now here I am, and I have this sinus infection kicking my butt. I haven't been able to get it. I just figured out yesterday that's what it is. So I hopefully will get some antibiotics soon or something to fix it. I hate antibiotics, honestly, but I'm glad they exist when you need them. And so there can be a real tendency to just be mad right now, right? Like, why am I finally in my happy place and I'm so miserable, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be in a place of everything's happening for my greatest expansion, even when it sucks in the moment. So what does it mean? That's not for us to answer right now, but I'll sit with that and figure that whole sort of thing out when it's meant to be shown to me. And yeah, so gate 14 has been the hardest gate. It's the biggest part of who I am, but it's been the hardest gate for me to understand in my whole chart. Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense, especially on, the undefined sacral. The way I love it being talked about is that it's like that light switch, right? That when it gets powered on, it's got to get turned on, right? And so with that energy of the 14, it's like you have that creative power within you of the 14, but not necessarily like the sustainable, like long hours to put into it for the resources with the undefined sacral. And the other thing that's also very interesting, speaking about your sixth line in this, like you said, the sixth line, for anyone who doesn't know, the sixth line goes through that iteration. It goes through like the third line, and then it goes on the roof, and then it goes to the sixth line. So when you have a sixth line, it kind of goes through that piece of experimenting, which is the third line. And the third line for this is service. And then the sixth line is humility. And service is really interesting. And it's like a very pivotal part of the 14, because 14 is very much about life isn't going to just give you money to give you money. It's like, are you doing the things you love? Are you bringing in something? Is there something then bigger than just the agenda? It's looking at, is there just that piece of like, I want this for the sake of wanting this? Or is it like, I want this because I want to make change and I want to do these things, right? That actually have this impact, that have this service. Like, I would like to help people's lives. And I feel that very deeply in you, like the way that you're the service you bring, where you're like, I just really want to help people step into like that radical self-trust, stepping into that place where they trust themselves so deeply and love themselves so deeply. And that is a very core part of this 14.
Yeah. Thank you. Jewel, want to start with line 1?
Line 1, money isn't everything.
Right. Yeah. Finding satisfaction, examining closely what it is that really motivates you. The dependence on anything outside you to make you happy will be found to be misplaced. Talk about radical self-trust, right? Like you can't look at anything other than what's here.
Wow.
And then line 2.
Line 2 is management.
Engaging wholesomeness, growing a capability to manage all your assets elegantly. You maximize your resources through obtaining capable assistance or by going it alone. And then 14.3, you already said, was what?
So 3 is service.
Service.
And yeah, is service, which is interesting because that's the 8 line 2 is service as well. Yeah, I had a cool conversation this morning about looking at the individual hexagrams and the meaning behind those hexagrams, and sitting with that energy in a different way than just the keynotes, which is an interesting thing to really like look at and consider when you have two keynotes that are service, and they're very, very different. The energy behind them, I would say, the energy behind them is very different for this, because again, like the 14 is about, it's about those resources and the distribution of those resources, and also for everyone, for the individual and for everyone, right?
Yeah. So you would look at
So
where the lines
line
are
3 service
in the gate 8, the gate. And it's interesting because if you look at, well, I think this is true with all of them. You're going to always have the polarity in the hexagrams, right? So for the gate 8, the line 2, so gate 8 is all broken lines except for the second line is a solid line, and gate 14 is all solid lines except the line 2 is a broken line. So
yeah. And then the broken lines, that's more the yin feminine energy. And then the solid lines is more the yang masculine energy, and just seeing how those, show up a little bit differently. Yeah.
Okay. So gate 14, line 4 was what? Did you say already?
Security.
Okay. Yes. And Shaitan says, being secure, personal security exists in having what you need. You ensure your empowerment by knowing what makes you secure and having it in your life. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory, I think. So,
yeah. And then line 5 is arrogance.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Being sincere. Now it's interesting. And being sincere as being used to describe this. Being secure is, I'm not secure, being sincere. Appropriate interactions with others concerning material matters. Your knack for handling the material world needs skill when you relate with the people in it.
And again, the 5th line. So that's, very projected on, but it's also the leader of all the lines. This is the leadership. So
yeah, we are in such
arrogance.
Are you noticing how we're both kind of like, oh yes. So I'm wondering, whether that's relaxing to someone who's listening to us, or whether they're going to be like, oh my God, these two are putting me to sleep and they need to go. Whatever it is, it's perfect. So now we talked about gate 14.
It is. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Humility. Yep.
I did want to bring up too, though, that on today's the 15th, right? So on the 17th, so that's Friday, Saturday. Mercury moves into line 2 later in the day. And so then we'll have that whole channel of the beat feeling activated for the rest of this transit. So
that's right. So right now we have the 14 here, and then the 2. And that's the channel of the beat.
Right. So we'll have that full channel feeling, and that's a very strong business channel. So this might be a time as you move forward that you might feel energy to make things happen in that way. But, any of these energies that we're getting defined from the transits, it's important to know that they are here for you to take advantage of them and work with them, but they're not your strategy and authority. So don't let them steer you into a different direction than you're really meant to go, right?
Those resources and turning them into something in the physical, right? Like actually creating something with those, and a new direction for whatever it is, direction for other people in your life, or for your business, or other things that you're working on. Yeah.
Okay. So I know this is running short, but I don't see anybody commenting any questions or anything. And I'd be happy to take some if anybody's interested, but otherwise, here you are. I thought we lost Jess. I was like, I wasn't quite done. You disappeared for a second. So, but I know Jess's internet is a little glitchy. And
These I've been on the phone, yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
And
and
it's only a matter of time until a spider crawls on me.
Maureen, and Frank is lock it away.
Yeah.
Um, so- and we were talking about how your style is inconsistent. Your style is inconsistent, but it always has an element of some sort of fairy tale to it. And that's which just might be a different fairy tale. So
Yeah, that piece of sparkle. And so, yeah, just really, actually, that's something I'd love to talk about. Um, with that gate 8, something actionable from this that I love to do. And a lot of times we can get stuck in an identity and go like, okay, but I see myself as um this certain way. Like I see myself as someone who only wears like pretty dresses, or I see myself as somebody who only like goes in like gardens. And like, where are you potentially not allowing yourself to express and really fully step into and love other parts of yourself that are there, because you've created this like very stagnant identity. I don't like the word stagnant, very like rigid identity. And so, starting to notice that and going like, okay, this identity, because our minds cling to when we have an identity and they protect it for good or bad, right? So if you're stepping out of that, but it's like, no, but this is who I am, it's very hard to step into something new and make those changes. So starting to ask yourself, like, what is that identity? Like, who do I think I am? Like, what is like, how would I describe myself in
right,
which way? And then do I allow myself to show up in different ways? So,
yeah. So there's someone walking by and talking. So hopefully you guys don't get hurt.
hi, friend.
We don't want to engage. Trust me.
I'm like,
Trust me.
oh,
I've engaged before.
I've
So
like been there, no thanks.
yeah, not okay. So what I was thinking about too was like, where we're defined, we often, have such impact on other people that it's in some situations it's too much for them, so they make us feel like we're too much. And I think that's what I have felt in early years in the past. As much as I resisted and tried to always still be my too much self, I really toned myself down a lot to not be over the top, right? Like, oh, right? Like in the past, I would have maybe worn this hat, but I would have only worn it with a solid color, or I would have worn this and I wouldn't have worn the little matching shorts. Because honestly, this does kind of look like pajamas together, but it's super comfy. And it's a look right now. So no one's going to think it really is my pajamas. And even if they did, cool. I've got cool linen pajamas. I'll wear them outside. I don't know. Um, but this whole idea that we're too much when we do what makes us happy. Think about all the little girls that want to wear their princess to preschool and the grocery store and stuff. And I love that now more and more parents are saying, okay, go for it, right? It used to be a thing where you were supposed to dress a certain way for certain occasions, and that included how your children were supposed to dress. And so, like, what kind of parent lets their kid go outside to some actual real place in their dress up clothes? There was all this judgment of, but now it's much more acceptable. And there was a lot of pressure in the past to do things a certain way. So, but I love the fact that I don't even remember what I was looking at, putting on, and I asked my daughter, who's 24, and I put something on and I said, I don't know, what do you think? Is it too much? And she looks at me and she goes, you are my mother. When do you ask that? What's too much? What's too much?
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Right? And I was like, you're right. And I just started to realize that it's usually those extra things that really make something feel like me and not just like, how somebody else would wear it, what somebody else would do. So, it's
And I'm so grateful for you being you because that's how we became friends because you had the most amazing pair of, I can't remember if they were like red or green or like really cool shoes. And I remember I was like, I freaking love your shoes. And I was like, and I love your jacket. And I just, there was such a like, and it was around your clothes. And that's how we like started being friends and then started chatting more and more. And then ended up doing like the workshop and now doing this. And like by you being you, we get to do this right now because you showed up as you, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just so, so, so cool. And also, you know, looking at the word, like the verbiage, too much, where you're too much, it's never that you're too much, right? It's
Right.
that you're being your full expression, but, you know, for that other person, that
Right.
might not be comfortable. But that, again, that's in them.
There's
And
strength.
that's maybe where they're not letting themselves be their full expression, where they've been told, no, you can't wear a princess dress or you can't wear a whatever it is, you know?
Most people really genuinely do not like princesses, right? I mean, there are people who have a definite opinion about the patriarchy and the whole princess idea. There's certain political connotations to it. I'm not going to tell them they're wrong, but I'm also not going to tell you you're wrong to wear bows and have the chipmunks tie and birds come tie them for you. I mean, that's just you. As long as the bees or just, yeah, I guess you don't want the bees tying your bows, but yeah, so we just all the more we can just I saw somebody on, I think it was TikTok, and she was posting about this video. She was calling it the we don't care things we don't care about club or something like that. And she was talking about all these things that we don't care about. And most of it I was like spot on. And then she's like, we don't care about clothes. Clothes are clothes. If we live, and I was like, okay, I can celebrate her not caring about clothes. That's fine.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But don't tell me I don't care about clothes because I so like get a lot of pleasure from them. To me, it's like art, right? Like some people have a whole full house and they don't have any paintings on their wall and they find other ways to express themselves in their home, right? But to me, a home that
Mhm.
has artwork has more expression for myself personally. Now, you might be a
Mhm.
person who every square inch of your home is covered with like hanging plants and tall plants and all kinds of other things. So there is no room for art because your expression comes out through what you're growing, what you're doing. You know what I mean? So there's all different ways we can express ourselves. So someone might not care about their clothing at all. And that's no judgment from me. I used to judge for that, but now it's like, whatever, if you don't care, I'm not saying you need to care. But yeah, I like my
Mhm.
colors. I'll probably always there was something I was
Yeah,
looking and
finding
even
it.
there was something I was looking at in a store the other day, and it was all neutral colors. And I said, yeah, it's cute, but it's not my palette. And somebody was like, person was like, oh, you could totally wear that. I said, oh, I know I could, but then it doesn't go with any of the other stuff I have, and it doesn't feel like me when I put it on anymore. Like when I'm like it was
Mhm.
something that was like a muted green and a muted gray and a muted like mustardy color, and it was very pretty, but I was like, it's just gonna not feel like me until I add some pop of something, and it just you know there's enough stuff out
Mhm.
there that's crazy colors like this. I just bought this here in Florida, so um and it's got like the little matching elastic shorts, and it's lightweight linen, and it's super comfy.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Oh, which reminds me, I need to get that outfit from Austin.
you
That linen outfit.
right?
Yeah. But you know, potentially, I don't think this is the case with you, but even potentially looking at like, is that an identity where I need lots of bright colors? You know, that maybe there are. I think I feel like for you, that is the expression of you, right? But maybe looking at is that part of that identity I have that maybe there is a piece of me that at some point wants to just do maybe that like softer green or do something like that and just explore, right? And that's the point. It's just to
Uh,
explore and play with it and see
right.
like how is this, showing up for me? And am I allowing to like myself to be all parts of myself,
Right.
showing up as like the totality of it and letting that like expressive energy that does change. It's life force energy. It's like it's life that, get to express itself in this creative way.
And I've had periods where I've done like I used to work for a clothing store that was very bohemian, and most of their clothes were well, it was a denim store. Worked for Lucky Brand jeans actually. And all their colors were those muted tones and maybe some burgundy, maybe a little bit of navy, but mostly those neutral colors. And I wore a lot of that for a long time. And it took
Mhm.
me not working there a couple of years to start to realize that that was conditioning me wearing those colors. Like I felt fine in them, but it was conditioning. It wasn't really what I like put on and went, ooh, right? So really realizing how different I feel when I put on bright colors. So I think
Mm,
I found my bright colors
yes.
great enough in my
Yeah.
life to know that it's not me just thinking it's what I should wear, you know.
No, it's definitely not
My
feeling that you
version of
should wear. Yeah.
that whole purple hat society or whatever, or red hat society. When I when I grow old, I shall wear purple with a big red hat. There's a whole poem, and then it started this whole trend of like it's a beautiful poem and I love the poem, but then it started getting a little bit over the top with like you could find patterns of fabric that were purple with red hats all over it. And you started seeing all kinds of stuff at Hallmark stores
Mhm.
about it and stuff. And so I was like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I guess I'm not wearing purple with a big red hat, but I am kind of embracing that energy. So
Yeah. I love it.
it's
Beautiful
this
energy.
not being afraid to stand out. So right.
Mhm.
Well, I
Yeah.
figured here we're born to stand out. So okay,
Yeah.
I think we are gonna call it an hour, even though it's not. And I hope that um you have gotten something out of it. If you have any questions or feedback, love to have you just put replay in the comments in the Facebook group, or if you're watching this on YouTube, then just post them there, and we will get back to them as we see them. So enjoy your woods and don't get bitten by too many spiders.
Mhm. And also share, like, do you have these activated?
Yeah.
All the thing. And, how's this showing up for you? Or share with us, maybe you don't have the 14 or the 8 and you're like, oh, this is how I'm experiencing like this activation. This is what I'm, kind of
Right.
seeing in my life right now. Like
Yeah.
the questions that are coming up and let us know how it's showing up for you. Because again, the whole purpose of this is like, how does this uniquely show up for me in my unique design, in my unique life, in the way I live life, right?
Right.
Is always it's about exploring and playing. So yeah, do share with us.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye.